Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Yeah, I know. Because I can't get right. This is cutthroat. This Burns has words pop from a snub nose. This Kurt Metzger and not give a fuck mode. Because I can't get right. Because I can't get right. Yeah. You're listening to Can't Get Right.
Hey, this is Can't Get Right with me, Kurt Metzger, and my guest, Subhah. Wait, put Subhah's last name up. Subhah, I haven't known your last name for probably this whole time. Will you put the names back up for a second? Oh. Actually, you know what? I did know that name. Agarwal. Is that how you say it? Agarwal?
Agarwal, yeah.
And what is it? Pakistani or
Indian? Yeah. It's like
Muslim, not Hindu, right?
No, I'm Hindu. I mean, I was raised Hindu. I don't know what the hell I am. But
converted to Islam. I'm joking. Go ahead. Why did I think that you were Muslim?
I don't know, because like most I mean, I make jokes about people thinking I'm a Muslim or a terrorist or whatever it is. So I talk about that a lot because, you know, most people just think Indians are all terrorists because they can't tell brown people apart.
Wait, who says that? Pakistanis, I imagine.
No.
Who says that? In the Kashmir region there?
No, mostly white 14-year-olds on YouTube, you know, the fun ones.
I think that's like... yeah, I don't think you go through any comments. I don't believe any comments almost now. I think I'm being pranked almost every time with any kind of thing. And I think it's like a bunch of very autistic people that are like trying to think of ways to like, I don't know, touch you or something. And they go, because I see so many things like that are like clear like bait to get into it, and the game is.
Oh yeah, the internet is full of trolls. People are mentally ill. Like it's wild. It's like, how is this your fun activity? Like this is insane to me. Like you don't like.
I'll tell you what. I had all kinds. And by the way, I should introduce you first. Subhah is a comedian and a writer that used to do my old podcast with Sherrod, Race Wars, back in the day.
Yeah.
And, what else you were for a bunch of shit since I last saw you, right? Jim Jeffries, what else?
Yeah, I did Punch Up and Polish on the Plan B movie that came out on Hulu.
What's the Plan B movie?
It's like a coming of age, like two high school girls go on like a road trip to look for Plan B, and then like everything goes wrong. But it's actually like, yeah.
The one where I think I watched a fucking preview of it on here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then they're on a roller coaster, and I'm like, does she not get an abortion? They just go to a roller coaster? Like at the end?
No, she wasn't on a roller coaster.
Oh, what movie am I thinking of? I swear to God, I could have swore they were on a roller coaster at one point. It was like one girl, she's not fat, but I don't know, she wasn't cool in school, and then maybe it wasn't. Hold on. Now I know you know.
There's a lot of like coming of age movies with like young teenage girl, like Booksmart. There was like another one, but I mean, obviously each of them is different, but there's a lot in that genre.
Well, how popular are they when they? Did you see the Netflix one that what's her name from UCB made? You know, in SNL, she used to be married to the
what was it called?
From Arrested Development. It was insane. It was like this girl. Oh yeah, I gotta find. Hold on, Amy Poehler made it. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get you.
Okay.
And it's not a thing I normally watch. I happened to watch somebody make a joke about it, and then I was like, then I look at the preview, and I'm like, this is fucking crazy. Wait, I'll tell you the name of it. It really was like a.
Is it
like
Moxie?
Yes.
Oh, I never saw that.
Okay, well, it's a middle-aged woman's idea of coming of age. What I'm guessing it was Amy Poehler's menopause coming of age more than it was a teen story.
Oh no!
And it's the worst. Oh, and it had a little bit of pushback because it's a classic like white girl makes something like the white girl's the star of it, and then like you know she makes a black friend who then elevates her. It's like a real like.
Oh, that's not very good.
I mean, that's the standard template. That's what everything is forever.
Well, Plan B starred, I think she's also Indian. She might be Pakistani or Bengali or something, but she starred her, and her best friend was also not white, but like they went on a trip to get Plan B. And like initially, I mean, you know, you write on
Plan B casting.
But like when you when you go on, like some you write for shit that you're like, oh, this is gonna be embarrassing, but like I read the script and I loved it and it turned out super good. So I was proud to have worked on that, which I can't say for everything I've done.
You know what? This is not what I thought it was. This is a totally different movie than the one.
Yeah.
I saw some movie because I remember we played. I had who did I have on? I had some Comic-Con. We played this preview and it was the most bizarre fucking, like, it was like a girl. It wasn't Plan B. It was like a girl road trip to, like, I think, get an abortion. And then there's a scene where they steal a car. It was like Thelma and Louise of abortion almost with girls. And then there's a scene there at an amusement park. I'm like, does she just go on a roller? Like, the messages I was getting from it were insane. Like, but
I mean, if that worked, every woman would just have an annual pass to Six Flags. That would be way cheaper.
Okay, Mike, thank you, Mike. It was called Unpregnant.
Oof.
Didn't do punch-ups on Unpregnant, did you? My first punch-up would be, don't call it that. Like, you know what it was? It was like the anti-Juno Unpregnant it looked like. Like, Juno is like she has the kid, and this is the Juno of not having the kid. Like, I mean, honestly, if I think about it now, like, because, you know, would you go on the road a lot as a comic?
A fair amount. I wouldn't say like a lot, but a fair amount.
Well, one thing I know is traveling around is like, because I get very used to, I lived in New York a very long time and I live in LA now. I forget how people get on with their lives a certain way. Like all this shit of having a family, all this stuff I didn't do because I was like, you know, a road comic and also immature. People do, you know, a lot of them do. And like I used to see this girl in Atlanta that had like everybody had a kid. Like they all have the kid. Not like any kind of, it's just interesting. It's like a cultural thing of like, it's not even a matter of, there's an idea of like, oh, I'm not having this kid. And I think it has to do with if you could afford it. So if you live somewhere cheaper, right. I think a lot of times people lean more to it. But when I think about arguments about abortion, like, why do people have them 9 times out of 10? Like, I'm not ready because I don't have the money to do this, and I won't be able to. You know, like, if it was such a deep issue, you could, I don't know, worry about paying for the kid. Much how they do with the COVID beds. Like, if you don't get vaccinated, and you ever hear this?
No, wait. I'm losing you on this one, Kurt. Okay, what's going on?
I'll explain it. Like, Kyle said this to me. You know Kyle Dunnigan?
Yeah.
He goes, what if your loved one got COVID and they need to go to the hospital, but they couldn't because a person who had chosen to not get vaccinated was taking up the hospital bed? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the mentality behind that's amazing. Now, somebody else pointed this out. I didn't come up with this, but it blew my mind that nobody's saying, why aren't there enough hospital beds for everyone? Why is it musical beds? And you're trained to go, well, there's only so many beds and you're taking, like, if you think the amount of money we waste on every other fucking crazy ass thing, you know, I'm looking at you, Afghanistan. No. Why is that even a thing? That's the first thought. And everyone's trained like that. And I think a lot of abort, depending on where you go, this is how it is with abortion. There's a training of like, oh, poor people are going to have too many kids, and people that are, you know, kind of middle classy New York, even like I wouldn't call them rich or something. They take that on the rich people thing of like, oh, it's not right to have a kid and be a burden on the thing. And whereas a bunch of other people don't think that way.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think when it comes to abortion, it's a lot of like, some people like don't want to have a kid. And like, sometimes it's because you can't afford it. Sometimes it's because you don't want to be a parent. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing of like, oh, I'll just have it and then like give it up. It's like, do you know how shitty our foster care system is? Like that's insane.
Not give it up. First of all, I'm against abortion unless I know it's to murder an innocent child. That's the only exception that I make. But I like not give. See, that's the thing. Adoption. I can't afford to raise a kid. This is why I'm thinking about this even, because when I saw you at Improv, we were talking to Jim, because this is why I didn't bring up that other stuff to Jim. All my questions about his show that I didn't bring up because he's telling me about he's got a new baby. Mm-hmm. And you'll notice everybody I know that has money. I had a friend of mine who's like, also like, hey, you should have a baby. I'm like, oh, should I? Should I have a baby? Oh, yeah. Like I'm a young chick. Like I'm just getting my career going. all the rich people are going to be having real traditional ass families and shit, and everybody else. And I think there's an ongoing thing where people on top have a programming. Now, you may well not be able to take care of a kid. Like, I'm not saying either way have the kid, but when people talk about Planned Parenthood, which there should be, I don't give a shit that Planned Parenthood started out as a eugenics program. I don't give a shit, but it did. There is this top-down population control thing that I notice getting more pronounced, and it's even
it's still statistically like people of lower income levels still have more kids. Like that's just like fact. But and then like as education and income levels rise, people have fewer children. And now, I mean, I don't know the exact reason before. I mean, a lot of the times with like lower income folks, like it could just be that you're in an area where you're not taught proper sex ed, or like birth control is looked down upon, or you're just like not even necessarily thinking about like, oh, if I have a kid, I can't do X, Y, and Z because X, Y, and Z isn't even an option for you.
Wait, where would you live now? I bet all over America, like where's birth control frowned upon outside of a Hobby Lobby? Like where?
Bruh, there's some crazy shit out there, especially with
hold on, you talking? You know of a town? You know of a town where you go and they're all like, we don't. It's like Footloose, but of birth control.
Actually,
we don't much have birth control, and it's not
because it depends. It's not even like, oh, we're frowning, which yes, some places, but we're frowning on birth control. It's more of like the programs they put into school. Like Obama instituted something called comprehensive sex ed. So that included birth control, that included how to have sex safely, as opposed to under the Bush administration
what hold on. What was the how to have sex safely? Like, what did they cover? Was there anything like hilarious? Do you ever see the hilarious things they tell kids? Is it like,
oh my God, you can't come on board, sailor, unless you wear a hat. Like that, I distinctly remember that from fucking high school.
Someone said you can't come on board, sailor. Did you go to
that was in the sex ed video that they showed us.
That sounds like Navy sex ed from like World War II. Hey, sailor, bring a hat.
It was so bad.
Yeah, when I was a kid, like, I was like very, very, very religious. I mean, and by very religious, I mean, we had to like do the religion, which I consider to be cultish, and and like. I knew all about like, and there's like this real misconception too of a certain, like Catholics are funny about sex, like genetically in the religion, but a lot of these Protestant groups, especially like the evangelicals that were a thing back in Britney Spears simmering sexual virgin tension times.
Yeah.
That's like a very highly sexed up thing. It's just you have to be married, but they're very like, and I don't think people know that aren't like. I don't know what people's ideas of different religions are, but I've seen that, like, remember Moral Oral? I think I even offended him. Scott Adsit, who's a funny ass guy, great on 30 Rock and Mr. Show. I didn't like Moral Oral because it was a bizarre, like, I'm like, that doesn't ring true to me at all. If I was making a thing making fun of these kind of people, I would be very accurate. And it's not that I wouldn't be mocking them. It just wouldn't be like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like if you hear like a grape soda joke. Like a black grape soda joke where you're like, did you really see that black people love grape soda? Or did you hear someone make that joke one time on another thing?
Yeah.
You saw it on Family Guy. Like, I hate that kind of shit. Like, what makes the thing offensive is the fact that it's like, you didn't take the time to learn what to make fun of about the people, Like,
I don't know. That's a very bold take. The problem with stereotypes is you didn't do your research.
Well, no, it's what are you doing is they're kind of it's like a shitty identity politics. If it's using stereotypes as any kind of like thing is a fucked up. Everybody does it.
Yeah.
Everybody does it, and then my favorite part is they don't go, well, we should maybe not just sociopath generalize people into like groups and like no, we just should switch those around like a fucking shell game. And I think I'll win in the moment. There's never going to be more beds in the hospital, and there's never going to be like we should just stop because somebody's got to get thrown in the fucking grinder, right? We're not going to stop that.
It is weird that they haven't built more medical infrastructure. Like I wonder, what is
It's completely like, do you know how this shit works? I mean,
yeah.
Here's what I was telling you, I've been writing jokes for Jimmy, so now I have to look at all this news shit more, which I had not been doing. Okay, and and he always finds like real like bother you kind of shit, that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's informative at least. Normally, if I watch it, whatever, I mean, take your pick of shitty ass. Where do you get news from? You know anybody anything good? What do you like for news?
I'll normally read the Washington Post, and then I listen to podcasts like Pod Save the World and stuff like that.
Oh, I've never listened to Pod Save the World.
And What a Day. Yeah.
Would you say What a Day?
Mm-hmm. That's like their daily version of that. And then sometimes NPR.
I thought you were exclaiming that. Like
like a Kathy cartoon. What a day.
Yeah, I thought you were doing an act right now. I don't know enough about them. Like I'll tell you what annoys. Well, so here's why I like work. Jimmy used to work for Young Turks. You ever watch Young Turks?
A little bit, yeah.
They're one of the worst. Like now, what makes me laugh is Jimmy they were like all friends and stuff, and now he doesn't like them. I never thought that guy was good. I always thought he was an absolute phony sack of shit. And basically now when you watch it, they're completely like they're like they took some kind of grant money or something. They got like money from what's the guy, the DreamWorks guy. All these things.
I don't know.
So a lot of podcasts, and I'm curious, is Pod Save the World on a network or is it their own thing and they Patreon it?
They have their own network.
So a lot of these, so my podcast is on Gas Digital, right? So that's Lewis's company. And then my friend out here has another company. I was just telling somebody about this. My friend has a company here that I think Tim Dillon's is on. And the difference with like Lewis's and this other guy's thing, or probably Rockfin as well, is their competition is only the other people who are trying to sell things to customers. Everyone else is venture capital. Almost everything is like fucking venture cap. So that's why here's the mystery of why does nobody want to see this stupid shit that they keep doing that is awful every time. And it's like, and I'm like, are you completely like, this is a good sweeping example that you could scale this up to pretty much anything going on. How like Latinx, my favorite term, Latinx, is overwhelmingly rejected by Hispanics. Like,
yeah, people don't like it. And because Latino is already gender neutral.
It's such a fucking stupid, like, so, okay, fair enough. Usually, hey, how about Latinos? I don't like it. But the thing that's crazy is, they go, well, tough, that's your name now? Like, you don't get to pick. I saw this, and so you're like, what the fuck? Like, who? That's like the same kind of thing as the actual people here, like the consumers of our name, don't want this. And it's like, well, you're going to need to take this. And how do you do that? That's completely top down. Venture capital. They all are doing that stakeholder fucking capitalism now where we have a conscience and we're going to be rich. So
yeah, but it's all just because they think they can profit off of being conscientious. They think it's because it's what people want. Like they did that Latinx shit to seem inclusive, but actually a lot of people felt it wasn't. And so there was backlash to it, but it's all bullshit. No company is good. No company has morals. That is not a thing. Like, no, like even
here's why that, yes, obviously.
Yeah. No.
But here's why that's not, you usually like, but you're not, I don't think you're understanding. What if I make all my money with this company? Surely they're not bad. So that's, because I've watched this personally. I've been watching people I've known for many years, like go along with the and especially people who I know for a fact, if I just told one story about hanging out with them, they'd be ruined in their circle of what they're doing. And not that they did anything so bad. It's just they've inserted themselves into the world of accountability to people that have that cat shit thing in their brain,
Yeah, but honestly, like people, because like there's two things that goes on in my head when I see shit like this. Like the first of all is like I do think people can change, so some of it might be genuine, and like more importantly, I don't give a shit. Like I don't give a shit if you're donating to the poor because you want to look good or because you care about these kids. Like I care about the kids getting money.
Wait, that's a different.
You know what I mean?
Wait, hold on, that's a different thing.
Well, I just like as an example where it's like people are like, oh, they're doing it because it's coming from the top. I don't give a fuck as long as they're doing it. You know
right. I know exactly what you're saying. You know what? I think when I had Rick on the last show, I think we probably talked about this exact same shit. And I just keep spinning in the same goddamn conversation. But I find it fascinating. Yeah, like example I had was like when Sean Penn and Katrina at the time, he went with his boat. I don't know. He was like maybe fishing people out of the water or something. But I remember at the time being like a lot of like, shut up, Sean Penn. Like, fuck you and your boat. And it was like a thing of like, yeah, well, you got free time in a boat. So you're whoop-de-doo. You're great. And I remember like, that's not the worst thing he could do with his boat, I guess, you know? So I was like, he is supposedly a colossal asshole, but I don't give a shit. Like if I'm in the water, if I'm in the water and he pulled me out, and I met Sean Penn. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, you know? So
that's hilarious. How badly do you fuck up? You're like, I got to take my boat out. Start pulling people out of the ocean. The fuck did you say? Where you're like, I got to get out there.
Did you see his interview with what's his name? The guy from the Sinaloa cartel that they...
No, what?
His name's Shorty in Spanish. I can't believe it. El Chapo. You know El Chapo.
Yeah.
There's a whole
but I didn't see this interview.
So so I use that as the basis of an interview for Sacha Cohen's show, like when he interviews the guy Alberto Gonzalez, that's the guy like helped legalize torture when he was Attorney General for Bush. And, and I had it like we had his like libtard character. He had like the reptard and libtard were their code names. So one was on a motor scooter and he was super conspiracy kind of guy, and the other guy like right wing, and the other guy was like a Berkeley professor who had every bad idea. And he was interviewing Alberto Gonzalez thinking that he was some criminal that worked for a cartel, and like his mistake about him, and he goes, they called him the something generalissimo. Like I made Attorney General in Spanish. He goes, he tortured thousands for his over. And then as they talk, he realizes he actually was just a guy that worked for George W. Bush. He's like, you're the scum. He gets mad and leaves. And that they guys, let's take a break to talk about our good pals at rockauto.com, the online store with every auto part at the best prices, your one-stop shop for everything auto. Been in business for 20 years. They make it easy. They got the best prices. You don't have to talk to some guy with his ass crack hanging out or whatever goes on. You know, you're trying to get service. This guy won't come out because he started a fight club in the back, and, you know, they think it's cool not to give great customer service. You know how it is out there. It's crazy. At rockauto.com, you can find everything you need, whether you're a mechanic, an auto shop, or working on your own car. Or doing weird artistic sculptures with auto parts. I don't know what you're into. I do know everyone has access to the same great prices at rockauto.com. So if you're a car guy or lady, right now go to rockauto.com and check out all the parts available for your car. You're going to have so much fun looking at car parts. You're going to want to call my other sponsor, Blue Chew, so you can get a harder erection over it. Once more, go to rockauto.com. No promo code needed, as their pricing is already that good. And when you order, make sure to tell rockauto.com that you heard about them on Can't Get Right with Kurt Metzger. But don't mention the Blue Chew part. I don't know if I'm allowed to bring that up in another thing. Just keep that between us. But mention my name, rockauto.com. All right, back to the show. Oh, so Sean Penn, he did this with El Chapo. I watched his interview. That's what I got the idea from. His interview with El Chapo. Basically, if you watch the documentary, there's a Spanish soap opera actress where she plays like a drug, like a Breaking Bad in Mexico. Right. Mm-hmm. And she like tweeted a message to El Chapo of like, violence is set, you know, some dippy actress, like a heartfelt tweet. And El Chapo responded to her through like,
oh no,
and wanted to like meet with her. Okay. So she was going to meet with El Chapo. Now somehow Sean Penn found out about it and kind of inserted himself into the whole thing and went along with her to the secret spot. This is how they caught El Chapo, was Sean Penn did this interview with him. That's
how they caught him?
Yeah, you remember this?
I knew he was caught, but I didn't know Sean Penn was involved. I was not.
Well, Sean Penn didn't like, it's not that Sean Penn ratted him out, but because Sean Penn went, they somehow figured out where the fuck he was.
Oh, that's so funny. I love that. I love that that's the reason you lost your
Well,
criminal empire. I agree with
that's
that.
not the
Like,
reason. First of all, he lost it because he wanted to fuck that actress. Very, very obviously, she's dumb, so she's like, "Oh, violence is sad, sir, please." Like she's gonna Greta Thunberg the fucking cartel, and then so this guy goes, this guy's like, if you know anything about this guy, you think he has any heart that would be touched other that's not in his dick? So he's all excited because that's a sloppy move. He was on the run. He had tunneled out.
yeah.
But he wanted to. He was like, "Oh, the chick from that show." That's what happened. Pablo Escobar is famous
Wow.
for having a news reporter. So then Sean Penn cockblocks him. He got cockblocked by Sean Penn. I mean, if people thought Sean Penn sucked, like imagine what El Chapo thinks. So El Chapo really wants to bang this Jake, and like, but Sean Penn's coming. And like, all right, and Sean's going to interview. So Sean does this interview. His questions are so idiotic to El Chapo. They're so stupid, and he writes a Rolling Stone article about the whole thing that comes out at around the same time. You've got to read the Rolling Stone article because it's one of the funniest. His words of what's going on is so fucking hysterical. And it's like, here's like, I just remember this so vividly, is like, on the way there I have to pee. I take my cock into my hand. He like describes holding his dick to pee on the way there.
Oh my
He does shit like that. Yeah, he thinks you could tell he's like real Hunter S. Thompson Gonzo mode, and in his head, and then he's this interview, which like other than it's Sean Penn and El Chapo, there's no point to any of these questions. He's like, "What do you hope for the world?" Like, what are you talking? Everyone there's like, "What are you talking about?" So El Chapo went down specifically because he wanted to get laid. But wait, why did
I love that. I love that.
Sean Penn's an asshole. That's why I brought up. So, yeah, I mean, he did bring El Chapo to justice. So, and he saved a bunch of people in Katrina. So you got to weigh it out. That's true. That's a fair point. But what you were talking about is,
God.
No, none of them are feeding. None of that shit. Nobody's feeding. What they're doing is they're not even doing fucking diversity and inclusion. That's all like a crock of shit. They have that ASG credit score they get now. So they all fake it. Like it's like their FICA. It's like a thing from BlackRock. The guy
ASG credit score. What is that?
ESG.
ESG. What is that?
Environmental social governance. I first heard of it from Adam Curry, the former MTV VJ, on Joe Rogan's podcast a long time ago, was talking about it. I was like, what? Because all the mystery of like, where is this shit coming from that it sucks? And it's coming from that. So that's the venture capital. So you get a rating for how well your company is conforming to that. I have an ex-girlfriend. She's in marketing, so of course she'll be part of this shit. And because if you're on paper, it doesn't look like it's that bad of a thing. It looks like, okay, I want to invest. I want to invest ethically, which anyone who knows about investing, find out which companies are bad on really good news things, and then invest in those companies if you want to know how to invest. Like, that's how you make money. So these companies are faking a score to get this investment. That's all it is. It's like you ostensibly you would say, hey, before I invest, I want to know what is their corporate environment and social governance in case is there a scandal that's going to take them down, and then I put money. So there's a logical reason to it. It's not how the shit works. It works this, and it's fucked up the same reason everything is, because everything. How do you show your successes with these things that are abstract that you can't just have numbers for? So policing. I had these guys on there were cops talking about the way they measure how you're a good cop is purely arrests. Like there's a lot of non-quantity related things that are kind of important that when you reduce it to quantity don't get handled, But that's the whole,
that's so fucking stupid.
That's how everything works. So I had a friend on. Dumb. Who would I have? I had this guy on. We're talking about Star Trek or something. Like there's always like you'll see like debates of is Star Trek is socialist or not, because there's like a YouTube video of every kind of divide pop culture and everything. And I can't remember what I was talking about, but I'm like, Star Trek, they have those replicators that just make anything for you. And so they don't really have to deal with like scarcity and start. You could just have that. But then I'm like, oh wait, we also don't have scarcity for real. We also have a replicator that makes It does it all day. It's just somebody's, like, if you think about it, we have plenty of diamonds for everyone. Like, everyone can have a big fat diamond, but they're expensive because one family just has them all. So that's not even a real thing. I mean, it's going to be now. Wait till the water wars begin, but.
Good God. I mean, we could literally, like, solve, like, hunger and, like, unhoused people. Like, that could all be gotten rid of if, like, we wanted to, but nobody wants to.
Well, I don't know. Listen, I don't know that we could solve it. That's what Jimmy always says that. You know,
I feel like
you can end homelessness for however many dollars, but as somebody who's a drug addict for many years and still smokes a lot of pot,
well,
that's not going to necessarily solve it. But
no, it won't. But you could get it down to a reasonable level, as opposed to whatever the hell is happening in LA and Seattle, where they have entire tent cities. It's like, what the fuck? Well, you know what the most depressing thing was, though? What? I was like driving by a Boy Scouts building, like it was some Boy Scouts center, and it was like some camping, like it was literally like Boy Scouts camping center, and then outside of it were just homeless people camping, and I was like, I know. I was like, this is depressing. Like, this is ironic, isn't it?
I'm these rich people in the YMCA over here. I thought you were going to say, you know what's the saddest thing? My family came here to not be near Calcutta. I've never seen anything like that. And I was in New York for a long time, which makes you pretty numb to homelessness.
Yeah.
When I came here and first saw, like, downtown LA, I was like, what the? This is like...
It's crazy.
The future in Soylent Green and shit here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all because there's just, you know, some guy just made a good video about it. I can't remember his name. It's like Johnny Harris or something, but it's all these like liberal run towns. The housing shortage is like specifically because they don't want, you know, they all don't want that shit in their backyard. So, but they care.
It's so fucking stupid. It's like, how is like, okay, so you don't want affordable housing next to your mansion, so you just have some dude in a tent peeing on your front yard. That's better to you? Like, just what are you doing? Like, also, just as a human being, it's so gross.
Again, they just had an issue with it where this was coming up because there's these little houses they can give people. In fact, they do it and it's pretty successful, but there's always people standing in the way of it for some bullshit reason. One of them being Jeffrey Katzenberg, the guy who gave.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So not only is he investing, not only the mind behind Quibi is going to put him and Sheryl Sandberg going to take a crack at this one. Again, there's a bunch of venture capital in the way of all these things. It's wild. Even people that are right wing, kind of, you can see a clue. They're like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is really all the most hysterical things I ever heard someone say that I thought of as a leftist from a while ago are now. This is like the most 1800s-y. I mean, if you're into steampunk, it's probably a great time for you. But other than that,
because honestly, like, here's the real problem is like, and they're doing it because they don't really give a shit, but solutions to this shit cannot come from the top down. Like, you have to work grassroots up, where it's like, even community violence, they talk about that shit. That's not going to come from like a policing mandate. That's not going to come from anything. Like, the biggest impacts are like community mediators, like working with the people like themselves, as opposed to some weird.
Hold on. What is a community mediator? You mean
like they have it
agency, or do you mean someone who lives there that acts lives
there? Yeah, like they were talking about, I think it was in Chicago, where it was like violence in the neighborhoods, and like having people who came from those neighborhoods mediate discussions so they didn't turn violent was like the biggest way to reduce violent crimes and outbursts. And like,
how is Chicago doing? Because I thought the issue with Chicago is probably the same with a lot of cities, which is Chicago's corrupt in a legendary way. Like, you're talking Tammany Hall kind of shit is how Chicago, and people I know from there, from all neighborhoods, will tell you this almost proudly. Like, yeah, that's how it is. Like, New York has that a lot, you know, quite a bit. But Chicago's one of the most segregated cities, by the way.
Yeah. I know.
I remember when you first heard all the insane nonsense kickoffs around 2011, 2012. I started hearing like bizarre shit. I had some girl lecture me about some race thing online, of course, because I would be online talking to idiots like an idiot. And She said something. I'm like, wait, don't you live in Chicago, the most racially segregated? Like her entire, like the the neo segregation thing that I've had just many a white college kid online. Now I guess they've all moved into positions of like media and power. These kind of people, but the craziest shit that I've ever heard. It was always from people that didn't live around. Like all the real like kind of dumb ideas you ever hear about race are people that don't mix. And New York, you live on top of each other. New York, you could be racist in New York, but even New York racist is like, that's like, I don't know, being like an Aryan in prison. Like, of course you're doing heroin deals with the, with the Puerto Ricans. Like, you're not going to live, that's impossible to live. It's just a natural thing that breaks it down. And so many of these cities, especially LA, is like this. Everything's designed. It's not they didn't try in New York, it just broke down. They designed the shit, much like the neighborhoods, to make sure your kids aren't mixing. Like,
oh yeah, that's a huge structural problem. Like, I don't know the most about it, and I do need to educate myself more on that, but they talk about that with like redlining. No, I just think it's good to know so I don't sound like a dumbass or say something stupid, but like, and also like I can't contribute to helping solve it. Not that I'm going to do that as a comic, but I just think it's good to know.
I think that a comic, you know what? Here's one thing I realized after all these years of being like, I'm just trying to be a clown for a living. Apparently that shit actually does a lot because of the amount of people wrangling to control how you do it. Like it's really fucking amazing. I would have never thought, I would think it would be kind of self-important to be like comedy, but apparently it's like the deadliest, most dangerous thing. Like people like really care where they're like, oh, we got to put a stop to this. It doesn't work now. Thank God it's turning around. But I would have thought it's just entertainment. But I really like Barry Crimmins says to me a long time ago about, he's like, you don't have to be like, because he was like a very heavy activist on the side of his, he's like, you don't need to be an activist. Like you're funny, like it helps people, like people that like what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, but sometimes like what people pass off as jokes, I'm like, oh, that's not funny. That's just racist. The fuck are you doing? You know what I mean?
I saw on net. It's okay. Yeah. I've watched Lily sing before. I understand what you're saying.
But it's just like, I agree with you, but also because cancel culture isn't a thing. It's more of outrage. It's just like outrage.
What part's not a thing? Wait, hold on. Wait, stop. What part is not a thing? The thing
where it's like, oh, we're gonna
I didn't invent that word. I just heard it.
Yeah.
For the last.
No, I just like people act like, oh, we're gonna cancel this person by putting this like big social media campaign. I don't know the origin of it. I just know like that was a thing, and they'd be like, oh, he's canceled, and then like you see it a lot on the far right where they'll be like, oh, they're trying to cancel me because they won't let me speak at this college while I'm on $1 million book tour just because one college didn't want to have you. But like, so I think like it gets tossed around a lot. Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
I think Marjorie Taylor Greene, or it may have been Lauren Boebert or whoever the hell. Like, they'll be like, oh, I'm canceled. It's like, you're not canceled. You're a representative.
That's all. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what any of them say. That's now the toxic environment that was created because this is a thing. Now, back when I had it done to me, it wasn't called that. It was called call out culture. And boy, it sure escalated quickly. And yes, there's two things going on here. One, of course, it's not a real thing or a real authority, much the way money's not real and Bitcoin isn't real. If everyone believes in it, then it's fucking real. That's how that shit works. So I'll credit whoever, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that for some reason, and I don't know why I even know who she is. I don't live in her state. I don't give a fuck about anything she says. But for some reason, I'm supposed to know who she is, think she's crazy, and be like, what's she up to now? And people don't nowhere near that. Then that's a media horseshit fucking thing. So basically, we're supposed to live out pro wrestling, all of us. She's like the Iron Sheik or something, okay? And so, and the media would like the power to libel anyone they want or slander them without being sued. I don't know if you recall the Jackie from UVA debacle, where that chick who interviewed remember Jackie from UVA? It was called a rape on campus. It was in Rolling Stone. Oh
no, I don't remember this.
Yeah, it was. This is pre-Me Too. I wonder what it would be like now. Well, now that died with Biden. But so there's this horrific rape story. This chick Jackie at a frat, and she was like laying in broken glass. It was one of the worst things you've ever read. And then they showed the counselor at school didn't even help her. And they show the lady with they superimpose rape on her face. I think that's why she sued. Anyway, it turns out that Jackie was lying because she's a fucking maniac, and she cooked up a fake boyfriend like George Glass from remember the Brady Bunch? Like if Jan from the fucking Brady Bunch made up George Glass, her fake boyfriend, and then that wasn't working to make a guy jealous, she goes, "Oh, I got raped by all his friends, by all George Glass's friends," and it was all to get the attention of one guy. So all her friends were a real college, whatever dipshit is supposed to be progressive from their kind of people. So of course they're like, we have to believe Jackie. And of course the woman, the reporter, Sabrina Erdely, her name was, because in court they go, why didn't you? So it turns out the night in question, I think a frat that didn't exist, or they don't have a party that night. All this shit that this chick, who's probably has something called histrionic disorder, which makes you do that, just blurted out unquestioningly. Sabrina Erdely printed a whole thing about how, of course, we don't need to hear. Remember hearing? We don't need both sides of the story. I remember hearing that. So she didn't do that. So they got sued. So I don't even know She probably teaches journalism now, is my guess. But she's crying in court. They said, why didn't you just check any of the things the way a fucking journalist should? She goes, well, I knew that statistically women don't lie a lot. So yeah, I've heard that too. And let's assume that's true. Who gives a fucking shit? Still check. Well, still check.
Here's the thing. With every movement, people tend to straw man. They'll pull up the craziest or the most unsupported viewpoints to tear down the whole thing. And I think as somebody who
what people?
It's just in general. Lobby? No, social media and shit like that. People who are oh, we can't have this. People who, not pro-rape, but people who.
This is before that. This. Okay. So this.
Well, look. Well, let me just say this, where it's a lot of people who support the Me Too movement, especially women of color who are often left out, don't want oh, believe all women means we're automatically going to take everyone's word. It means at least look into it, because a lot of the times that shit was brushed under the rug by the HR department, by people at companies.
I'm very familiar with this argument.
Yeah.
Number one, it wasn't believe all women; it was believe women. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with the excuse for this absolute shitty hashtag that sounds very much like believe all women. So I wouldn't fault anyone for thinking it's believe all women, because it was intentionally made shitty like that to create a point of entry where, yeah, that's right, it sucks and you better accept it. That's what defund the police, a moronic slogan. I actually know black people I know that weren't in Hollywood supported that idiotic slogan, not because the police aren't a problem, they fucking are, but because the slogan, here's how a slogan works. If I hear the slogan, well, hey, defund the police, and you're like, well, yeah, what it means to me, this is what people say to me, you fail. The slogan should tell me what that means, because it turns out that a bunch of people were like, no, we meant abolish the police, and there are people, dipshit liberals, who would go, no, they just mean that we need to blah, blah, and blah, blah. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So if I hear a song like that, and it's an important thing, the idea is to take the time to make it so people go,
well, I would say a couple of things to that. First of all, you can't sit there and be like, there isn't a concerted campaign to spread misinformation about movements, about defund the police. So people,
Okay, I've been a victim of it. So I know that there's a concerted campaign. They just lie. All of these agencies lie.
Yeah.
These press things. So
also, to say oh, why isn't there a better organ? People say oh, why is this movement so disorganized? Why isn't there a clear messaging campaign? It's because the FBI and CIA used to murder all the black leaders, so now it's a little less centralized. Right. Now you know what I mean?
Yes. Now they install them. They've figured it out a little bit better. Yeah. No. Yeah. That's. Listen, if you're rich from it, this is a good rule of thumb to me. If you're professionally with a charity, you got some kind of salary amount of money in a activist cause, I don't fucking trust you, because now you have a profit motive to not solve the problem, but continue making it the kind of thing that Chris Rock used to joke about, the cure to the AIDS, which I don't think is true, but does apply to this. These people get rich and then they don't want, then there's a whole professional, like, it's this mixture of capitalism and supposed progressive. It's repulsive. It's as bad as church and state. It's every bit as bad as that. And now that nobody gives a fuck about church anymore, there's no balance to it. It's synergy. We're doing good and I'm getting famous and I'm getting stuff. Like, it's so polluted and repulsive out of the gate. It's got nothing to do with, I don't care about your movement. I left a cult. I don't give a shit about a movement or where the herd goes. I know what a principle is. And the thing that you said of believe women, for example, which means just hear them out. Yeah, I was going to do that.
You'd be surprised. Look, as somebody who, again, I actually accused a dude pre-Me Too, and like, it was a he said, she said, and I wasn't expecting anyone to automatically act on my word, but like the amount of dudes who are just like, oh, you're lying. And I'm like, this is he said, she said. Like, you don't have any proof that I'm lying. In the same way, I'm not rehashing that. Enough people knew exactly what happened. I've already said it once, and I already dealt with the backlash once. But it's like, in like a lot of he said, she said shit, where it's like a lot of, and I'm sure like, you know, there were the same amount of people attacking him maybe, but also he did it, so what do I give a fuck? But it's like people like attack women without having the evidence that I was fucking lying, because I wasn't. So it's...
What do you mean? But what do you mean?
Great.
Just so I understand what you're talking about. You're saying...
Well, they would call me a liar, say I was making the whole fucking thing up, online? Like trash my reputation in person. Because it was like... in the comedy, it happened in the comedy community. Mm-hmm. So a bunch of comedians who weren't even this dude's friend, they were my fucking friend, like trashed me and like would use me as a punchline, as a roast joke, like, and would just like spread that shit about me. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, good to know you just randomly trust this dude who you don't even fucking know over me when we've been friends for years. And of course, this is pre-Me Too.
I never heard any of this.
This was like in the open mics and like none of it, nobody cared.
Are you kidding me? Oh, you mean a collection of assholes?
Yeah, but I mean
that's an amazing thing you just said, because that's we're a bunch of shit. Hey, wait, Mike, stop the thing for a minute. Oh my God, I would love to tell that story. I haven't not told people. I tell people all the time. You just can't ever tell someone for like a press thing. If you see it in a newspaper or you see it on there's very small chance that it's like real or valid. So that's what this was really all about, all this shit. So it had nothing to do with women, believe women. What believe women meant, whether people understood it or not, was believe the media, because we got sued for the Jackie from UVA story. And now what we can do, because it was a thing for black girls in like inner cities that don't know anything about it and had no idea other people had also been assaulted sexually. That's what Tamara Burke, the woman who created it, that's what it was. It was not a social media kangaroo court. That was appropriated by a white actress, right? And and the one who was the champion figured out it was bullshit real quick. To her credit, Rose McGowan very early in went, you guys are fake. And now where's Time's Up? Oh, they're just a DNC fucking thing. Because if turns out you got molested by someone who's a Democrat, they can't help you because the thing you mentioned of people are going to use it to do this and that thought is the basis of so many. That's why I left Jehovah's Witnesses. That fucking thought. If you got fucking raped in Jehovah's Witnesses, or you were a kid and you got molested, they're like a college. You don't go to the cops. We handle it in-house.
Yeah. But I think that's why, because it's like, obviously hashing out who's guilty, who's not guilty, what somebody deserves on social media isn't a good system. But a lot of it happened because like HR systems at like tech companies or like these systems that were supposed to protect women weren't. And then it ended up into this, like, you know what I mean? So it's not...
So you're telling me the people with training suck at it? Yeah, no shit. That's why it's even worse when some jagoff with pink hair, I'll be the cop on social media. That's even worse than the shitty-ass cops. So what that is there's two groups. There's the people that use that to their advantage, which is most of the powerful. That the only reason, like, Harvey Weinstein is allowed to go down, let's say, is because he started costing more money than he was bringing in. That's how did R. Kelly? I remember when R. Kelly came. I never gave a shit about I Believe I Could Fly or fucking Space Jam, not out of racism, which you were probably going to accuse me of. No, I'm joking. Like, it doesn't mean shit to me, his music. Michael Jackson, never gave a shit about as a kid. I really never did. Kids love, when I was a kid, it was the closest I've ever seen to like kids acting like the girls in Beatles. Like boys and girls were like, ah, from Michael Jackson when I was in like kindergarten. Like they wanted to fuck him. That's how, that's
I don't know about that. I don't know about that one,
Kurt. Those kids want, no. Anyway, because I was taught I wasn't allowed to believe in shit like that. Do you know what I mean? Like that's idolatry. In a very religious thing, this is the world. It's naturally, all of it's bad. So if you put your faith in it, it's like always like tainted. And then it turns out to be, like people are like, I will never believe Michael did anything but spoon with those boys. Do you understand? Like, just like everything else, what sucks is because getting assaulted is actually such a like a primally fucking like there's a real like massive like beyond like all like society and decency like a primal like bad thing about it that everyone senses to a degree, you know? And but that's how they treat all this shit like that. If you're in a certain spot, you're going to be protected. We're only going to rearrange who's being protected based on, I don't know, whoever is like driving the thing. It's never a thing to really get something done or to do it, because what if, so they can use this against us. Like, I never had it clearly explained to me why the Joe Biden accuser, I should disbelieve her. I heard something about, she said Russia was good once or something. I know Chris Hayes said, hey, we should at least hear her out because, you know, I spouted all that shit, believe women, and we're not going to do that now. It's weird. No, Twitter, the nature's perfect justice. I saw people tweeting, a white woman, bro, take it for the team, bitch. Like I saw that. That was from some queen on Black. And so to tell you where cancel culture came from, it was taken from Black Twitter, Black trans Twitter probably, where all these things that are movements, a white lady takes it from some Black Twitter thing. That's every single one of them. That's why, anyway, so they take cancel culture, and that was a bunch of queens and going, oh, you're canceled. Oh, you're so canceled. And a bunch of dipshits took it and ran with it. And then I'm watching the same people go, well, I'm sick of hearing about cancel culture. Are you? Are you sick of hearing about it? No shit. Me too. No, let's be friends. I also would never like to hear about it ever the fuck again. I didn't make it up. I didn't make up these stupid fucking words that everyone's sick of. All these people are mad because slow-ass Republicans just learned what the words are. They're the old people party. They just heard of the shit now. I'm so over it, personally. But you know what? If they want to destroy it, I'm happy. Like, if you pass a bill that says no more woke, whatever the fuck you think woke is, you're probably right. Pass that fucking bill and fuck you. Because everyone I know that has to work a regular job, unlike me, who's pretty fucking lucky, they have to read White Fragility and shit. Have you ever read that book?
No.
Of course not. And to your credit. And I pray that you
I don't know.
It's
one
of the worst things I've ever seen.
I don't know. I haven't read the book. I mean, look, I think things are messy, and like not good, and yes, like corrupted, but I think the overall idea of like trying to be more inclusive isn't.
Oh yeah, no shit.
Yeah, yes. Like no
one's against the basic idea of inclusion. That's not.
Yeah, or like the movement, or like listening to people. Yeah, but it's just.
Who the fuck do you know? Like honestly, besides whatever shitty ass scene you were doing, where were you doing comedy? By the way, can I ask?
New York. In New York.
Where? Like what rooms? What? We're not.
I don't want to trash the venue, but they're not even open anymore.
Yeah, that's the. But yeah, now you can trash them.
Well, they have a new location in a different state, but like I don't want to like. Yeah, let's not worry about it. But
stop the recording. You can tell me off the camera.
It was.
I bet it's gonna be. I bet. Wait, just stop it, Mike. I gotta know who this fucking is. All the good parts always have to be cut out of things. I hope conservatives complain until I don't have to deal with that shit anymore. You can just say fucking things freely. Unbelievable. You know how many people I have on, by the way, that like, I don't care of your like, you know, I'm not political in that I didn't grow up with it, believing in it, anything that wasn't like God or whatever we say God was.
Right.
I thought God was going to just kill all of you by now. So I never, you know, when I watch people, I had Jenna Friedman on Race Wars with Sherrod, and watching her say she was like, we've been invaded by Russia after Trump got elected. She was like, it was unbelievable things coming out of her mouth that were like hysterical. I'm just like, at the end of the world, like that kind of shit. Like, you know, like they say.
Well, I think the world might be ending. The way the climate is going and shit.
I mean, that'll probably be one of the nicer aspects of everything. It would be the toasty weather, and you're gonna want those bugs to eat. Yeah, they the freak out. Like, I don't get emotional about that. So, and you were there. Well, you were in New York that time. What is that, a truck?
Yeah, sorry, it's straight behind me.
Oh, I was like, are you in a truck? Is your studio in the back of a truck? Yeah, like the Jehovah's Witnesses now is probably bigger than ever.
Really? Oh, because of the whole doom and gloom shit. Yeah, of course. During cults prosper during times of uncertainty and unrest. Like, people just want structure, you know?
Yeah, right. And I like that there's something available for every level of society. I fully support Flat Earth Dave. You remember Flat Earth Dave?
Oh God, no. What is that?
The guy that used to he would do a lot of podcasts. He's like a conspiracy guy, Dave something. We was calling Flat Earth Dave.
I didn't know Flat Earth Dave, but yeah.
Well, I watch a channel where this guy like answers flat Earth videos, I guess, and he must be a scientist because he knows stuff like that I don't know. Like, I like him because I don't know. I can't disprove you if you have some fucking measurement that you think makes it. I have I have no business even telling you you're wrong, really, other than like I think you're wrong. But
yeah.
And so I think that you're wrong though. But I don't have the fucking arrogance and the like fear of like, this is dangerous. Do people say that this is dangerous? Like, Kyrie,
yeah.
I made like a joke about it. That was what's her name? Oh, I can't say. It was somebody's brother that you know, and he says to me like, dangerous that Kyrie Irving tweeted the Earth is flat. I'm like, why would that be dangerous on any level? Like, that's the least dangerous thing. So what you're telling me?
I guess. I mean, honestly, like, I would have said.
Walk me through the damage that would be done.
I don't think it's like. No, I do think it's troublesome that conspiracy theories are becoming more and more popular, because that's the problem with like these social media algorithms, especially with like they were trying to mix like anyone who had a conspiratorial mindset and then get them involved in crazier and crazier shit. So like you start out watching a flat earth video and then 5 minutes later you're balls deep in QAnon. Like, I think it used to be fun, and I think social media algorithms really fucked shit up, because it used to be
QAnon? QAnon's kind of dead now, right? Because of
no, they're still going. A bunch of people just went to, I think it was JFK's grave to make sure he didn't resurrect. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but like shit like this.
I'm gonna take a wild guess that that's probably not a correctly reported thing, because it's pretty stupid. No, people do stupid things, but there's not a thing I hear like that. I don't know. You remember the story about after what's his name was on Joe Rogan's show, and then they had a story about how everybody was overdosing on horse fucking cum, I guess. And
oh, the horse dewormer. They're not overdosing on that.
No, this is the story, but this is the crazy part. So the story was it was in not South Dakota. It was in what's South Dakota or Kansas City, some fucking town like that. People, gunshot victims, couldn't even get in the hospital because of all the people that took horse dewormer to treat their COVID. Isn't that terrible? And so then it turns out, as it happens, nothing like that happened. The person who said that didn't work for the hospital. The sheriff everyone contacted all the press, and the sheriff said, this is a very small town. We had one gunshot. No one had to wait. I don't even think we had anything to do with that drug at all. happen.
Right.
That was repeated in multiple outlets, such as the Washington Post, and the reason is venture capital. Once again, did you know all these like the Guardian, all of them pretty much. Bill Gates, the Bill and Melinda Gates. Bill Gates has been donating more and more money to all of them as time goes on. This is the record year, and they give you kind of a grant investment, and then they tell you on what the focus they'd like you to take.
Yeah, but see, like, I think the solution to that is just, what was it? The FTC made some rule in like the 70s that allowed more stations to like gobble up each other. It's all a problem of like centralization.
It was the 90s.
When was that? In the 90s. Yeah, you're right. But it's like, that's the problem, is like all of this shit is coming, like the more things get like become one, and like the less, like the more monopolies there are on like communicating and news and things like that, and like the more big money controls that, as opposed to having independent journalism. Like, it is so important to have small independent journalism, but the way capitalism and like monopolies have been going, and the way big money is corrupting everything, it's
Did you say
terrifying. Big money, like big money, you know.
I work for the goddamn money industry. You work for big money.
But yeah, I would love to work for big money. They are doing that. I have little money.
You actually, that's what Substack and all these things are, and that's the only reason I have any work is because I make my own shit with which actually you can make. I had no idea, because I didn't know you could make your own shit. In fact, it almost sounds commie-esque of seizing the means of production, but you can. But you know what happens when you do? That conglomerate that you're talking about, they drum up a lot of fake bullshit, scary stories. So now that we don't have ISIS and the scary Muslims that are going to fucking Muslim us up, what do we replace it with? Well, there's going to be, I don't know if you saw the January 6th insurrection, the terror that I felt when I saw it. That's why I welcome more policing.
I mean, I wouldn't welcome more policing off of that, but that shit was pretty scary. I think that was pretty terrifying. Why would you be more
scared? This is what I find scary. But I'm not where anything. Somebody robbed our mail whenever the fucking peaceful protest riots were happening near me. That's all that happened. Somebody stole our mail. Might not be connected to anything. It just happened at the same time. But I would be more nervous, like if I had like my bar burned down, or I got beat up, and or the black kid that got shot at the Chaz by the improvised police force. Did you remember the Chaz?
Wait, what?
Remember the Chaz in Seattle during BLM? It was
no,
the Chaz.
The Chaz? No, I don't know what you're talking about.
The occupied Seattle zone. So Seattle.
Oh, yeah. The occupied Seattle zone. Yeah.
Yeah, and they set up like a segregated park. So no white people. They went through every stage of society. They took over this section. They were like, okay, then now we're having segregation. Now we're going to try to farm. And it ended with them shooting a black teen. They did. Whoa. Wow. Oh, thank you. Is that a thing? Yeah. So that's, and unlike the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, which I don't know what you saw of that was what, now the authorities at the time were like, this might be like a summer of love. I don't know if you remember the mayor famously saying that at the beginning.
Right.
Now, all the footage I saw of protests were, if I saw cops beating anyone, they were just beating protesters. And if somebody was burning something down or looting, there was no cops, which I think is absolutely on purpose, because if cops are not too popular, your budget's being yelled at. That's what all this shit ends up being. I mean, somebody's leaving pallets of bricks. That's not like...
yeah, no, the cops were trying to set up protesters and shit like that. It was
but the thing is, here's what I learned back in the day. You don't really have to set up too much, because the movements are filled with plenty of crazies who will do that. And all you have to do, much the way like a Hollywood or any kind of demonic entity, you just play. If you ever watch a thing about the Black Panthers, it's very interesting how people talk about it now, because I think the one guy's still alive. He became a Reagan Republican. People that were at the top that were activists were like, yeah, we just allowed like straight up criminals in because it was revolutionary to do it. And much the way Stalin was some fucking thug criminal that they let in, and he's like turned out he could work even though he took everything over. It's easy to exploit. I don't know how much of this shit is a psyop, but the nonsense. Like what I see is, I believe you about conspiracies, but I don't know how dangerous. I don't know the thing of how dangerous. Like Alex Jones, for a good friend, I'll say who he was, Neil Brennan. He tried to fucking peddle me for a second, but to his credit, he understood what I was saying after he said this, because I think it's nonsense he heard from Hollywood people about how it was irresponsible of Joe Rogan to platform Alex Jones. He platformed him. And that's it. Now, because you're going to platform me, what the fuck? Like, that kind of shit?
I don't know. I agree with that because, like, it does matter. Like, what people see on their daily lives, like what is put on a bigger platform via Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, like pulling down bigotry from like either end, like I think they should take down anti-Semitic accounts. I think they should pull down ISIS members. I don't think they should be given access to these big social media platforms because putting out a message of hate.
You're going to make a great mom one day.
I don't want kids. But it's like...
I can watch whatever the fuck I want. And by the way, the idea... See,
but Kurt, it's not an issue of you can watch whatever you want. Sure, the problem is these things get promoted. Again, it's all of these social media algorithms. If it was just like existing in space and like that would be fine, but it's not. Okay, again, I believe you. What I find fascinating, such as the danger of Alex Jones, because as we know, that is wait. I just don't understand. He literally harassed the families.
I know, and you know what happened to him? Hold on, he did. You know what happened to him? He got fucking sued and lost the way the system fucking worked. I'd like to know why the fucking regular media, who got us into a 20-year fucking war with a lie, why the fuck they're okay, but I'm supposed to care about... Do you think Alex Jones, the ones who don't think he's a joke, which, by the way, is everyone who almost listened to him thought he was funny, the ones who really think it's something, do you think that they were going to be brought into the fold? Do you think a flat earther was going to become a NASA scientist but was distracted by misinformation? Do you think someone was going to vote for Hillary but Russia tricked them with dank memes? No. The main lies, much the way Noam Chomsky, 100% I think was right about, manufactured consent. And you said ISIS. They're always going to make new ISISes, and they're always going to be people that aren't, defunct. The cops are the lowest level of customer service in the demon machine that is America.
Well, and
the cops are the problem, but we praise them. Kamala Harris, who's the biggest pig in the sense of being a cop I've ever seen, who kept innocent people in prison to not disrupt the prison labor system, is a good deal worse than the cops. She's controlling that because she wants to put big numbers on the board. Do you know what I read? The excuses for her that I fucking read? Well, she had to do that because she's a woman of color. Oh, if I was a guy in prison unfairly, I would want her to hold up my DNA test because I know she's hoping to go far in life. What the fuck? That's the kind of people that read The Atlantic or something, Like that's the kind of people with their bourgeois careerist nonsense, and they get you to think corporate. The reason I have a real problem with it is because I've been through this. We'd have a fucking circuit overseer come to my goddamn church and tell us about all the dangerous things that we should, like E.T. You know why we should watch
E.T.? I do think it is this, what's going on right now is fucking dangerous because, like, I think you're discounting how dumb people are. And it's like, you look at these January...
No.
Well, here's the thing. Like, look at the January 6th insurrection. That was terrifying. Like, most of the American government was in that building. Like, it wasn't just like, they were literally Fox News hosts, the worst of the worst, calling them up, being like, get them the fuck out of there. They almost, like, murdered.
Well, how did you feel about the old black lady crying and they burned her fucking bar down at BLM at the Peaceful and Fire? Did you get that same fear in you? Because I notice it's a kind of a class thing. The people that are from the more upper, white collar kind of mentality, somehow I don't feel shit for the fucking Capitol building or any of that. I kind of hate them all. Now, I don't advocate violence, but I don't give a fuck if someone took a shit in Pelosi's desk.
Also, those types... Yeah, but it's like also this like extreme like Tea Party people, they're bigot, like there's been a rise in like anti-Asian crimes, like all of this shit, like there's been a rise in bigotry over the years, and it's terrifying.
Yes, I have.
It really is scary.
I have noticed that start to coincide right around with the time when I started hearing all the worst nonsense fucking only white people could be racist because racism.
No, that's not true.
That's, well, now you're being a white supremacist because, yes, it is true. You didn't know it's officially true?
Well, I guess there's a difference between racism and bigotry.
This is very purposely, this is very purposely being made. The rise is not a coincidence, and it ain't because, that's as dumb as saying that, oh, these kids are getting radicalized at the mosques. The mosque radicalized them.
It's actually the opposite. Mosques give a sense of community and you're less likely to become isolated and radicalized.
Yes, right. And so now you can apply that to what they're doing here. Because all the radicalization wasn't from the fucking algorithm. It was because the people in charge aren't doing their fucking job, or they're doing it poorly or evilly. And as a result, people are going to turn to all kinds of crazy shit. Some people go, you know what? You guys suck so much, I don't believe the fucking earth shape. And you know what? I don't blame them. I blame the people on top that are cowering from the people with fucking... I mean, the only casualty was one of the stupid protesters. Am I wrong? That was the only death that I'm aware of.
Oh, at the Capitol? I mean... Yeah,
that insurrection was actually less deadly than the average BLM march.
And I do... Well, look, here's the thing. I don't know why we need to equate that, because, like, one is a group of people who, like, were propagating the lie that the election was stolen, and a second group of people are, like, protesting the death of people of color and the unfair, like, the way policing has destroyed their communities over the year for government and capitalist profit, and how, like, they're literally... the man who killed George Floyd had multiple indications that he was unfit to be of service. But again, the police unions, the system, wouldn't protect the citizens that they're supposed to be protecting. That's a very different groups of people.
It's actually the same group. That's actually a very great point what you just said. You could also apply it to fucking every fucking Democrat in office now. They're all the exact fucking same, and a bunch of upper class twits have gotten it in their head that there's not the right side of history, the lesser of two evils side of history. And it's so important that you pick a side in the struggle between evil and the lesser of two evils. I guess according to Alyssa Milano, I don't know who judges that shit. Look,
I just think one group...
That's not difference. It's okay if one group does it? Is that literally what you're going to tell me?
No, of course, death at any protest is bad. But to be like, oh, these are the same things happening, I think that's a false equivalency. Because, like, one is, like, fighting for the rights of a community that has, throughout history, been, like, disregarded.
Like
and
an
one
insurrection?
is... One...
Like an insurrection?
No.
That's what an insurrection is.
The insurrection
That's what you call
an
insurrection. I'm not saying they're bad to have an insurrection. You could have a good insurrection. That's an insurrection, isn't it? That's what that is. Now, do you hear the code? I'm not saying any dog whistle. By the way, if somebody says dog whistle to me one more time, fucking Dante Nero said it to me. It's a dog whistle. I go, Dante, how come I'm not hearing all these whistles? A dog whistle only dogs can hear, right? And I can't hear the racist in the whistle, but all these people who can hear it assure me it's there. Almost like you have to be a racist to hear it, wouldn't you? To project racism into every fucking whistle you hear. That's what they do. This is not I don't give a shit about your cause. How much damage did you do? If you burn my house down, I could give a fuck about your George Floyd feelings. I'll shoot you in your fucking face if you burn my shit.
Jesus Christ, Kurt.
You would let someone burn your house down? You would let someone burn your house down? No, you wouldn't. The people that say that don't own homes. They're renters. They're part of the new, I own nothing and I love it that we got from what's that Witch People meeting? You know, it's part of the Great Reset. Did you read that article?
Well, look, I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's like I guess like.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get all of it.
I get it. Where it's like when you're in a system that has repeatedly put property over your life, over the value of your life, and you go out and you destroy a target because they don't care. Like, I understand that, where they're like, this is the only thing that's going to get their attention because
I know
nothing we're doing. Like, I understand that.
Almost. Yeah. That's a very good point. Almost
but again,
like someone would storm the Capitol for the same fucking reason.
And one is a lie. Like, the election wasn't stolen. And that lie is being used to erode our democracy. It's being used to support gerrymandering, stricter ID. Like, it's literally, they're very different.
But how old are you? How old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay, so when I was a kid, My dad, when I was young, like 12, he used to listen to Rush Limbaugh. Then he like stopped. I think he like thought he was like stupid at some point. I don't know what Rush Limbaugh said, but I do remember hearing Rush Limbaugh talking about the scourge of gerrymandering. That's the first time I've ever heard the term gerrymandering. And back then, they were complaining about gerrymandering because the Democrats kept gerrymandering and it was so bad and we have to get rid of it. And then when I got a little older, I started hearing this fucking gerrymandering again. And I don't know what year, I guess, the Republicans were the gerrymandering. Those puppet show fucking battles, none of these people have done anything. Forget about left or right. This is the whole reason that you have this designations, or there's all kinds of crazy people do all kinds of shit. But there is the exact same things that came up about Muslims that you might recall are coming home now. And the whole point of what we should have learned from Hitler was not that some people are just bad people and that's why they're Nazis. What everyone should have learned was everyone has that inside them if they don't watch it. Even the good people who think they're one of the good, that fucking thing, I lived in New York for years. I used to love making fun of stupid rednecks back in the Daily Show times. That was a great fucking time. But I had a fucking job that is kind of, you can't really ship it out. Like, people can't come from other countries and just like take the job I have necessarily. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't know about the jobs people don't want. Well, I didn't work those jobs. How the fuck do I know anything? And I didn't understand that communications thing you brought up from the Clintons. The Clintons did shit that Reagan couldn't even dream to doing.
Oh yeah, they were fucking awful.
Yeah. So when NAFTA and all that happened, all these people got destroyed, much like how the CIA selling crack, which I used to be like, they didn't sell crack. I 100% think they were selling crack, 100% in the hood. They needed money quick. Why not sell some crack? Oxycontin, same fucking deal. The white people version. The jobs are gone. The elites. So see, these conspiracy things, maybe you believe a lie about it. I mean, a religion could be a fucking lie, but an aspect of it is always true or it wouldn't be around. So like lizard people is not literally true. I'm pretty sure these people aren't lizards. It's kind of naive to think that humans are so good and the ones that are bad must be a different species. That's a little naive, I think. But metaphorically, it's 100% true. These people are lizards. You've worked for them. You've seen them up close. They're lizards. And you've seen you were talking about before, aspiring lizards in a fucking open mic, okay? Mm-hmm. Fucking reptile brain people. And anytime one of those kind of people has a thing of how this is good or bad, I'm like, what the fuck do you, like, the amount of a double standard and like confidence that I watch people doing. Who's the guy who just got kicked off like Twitch for saying cracker? Hassan, from the nephew of the Young Turks guy, got kicked off for saying cracker. And there's a whole debate sparked on TikTok. Like, well, it's not the same word to say cracker. Yeah, no, I'm sure it's not. Let's say it's not racist to say cracker, but you're still saying a shitty thing to someone based on their skin color, right? That's still a thing you did, and you think it's wrong. And they all can't believe that when you create these little shitty rules of like, you've got to stop that, it's going to come back on you. The reason I don't give a shit what anyone wants to say about fucking anything. I give a shit what they do. Like if they attack me, if they do something. As far as if you're worried about misinformation, here's a good judge if you really give a shit. What did you think in the Kyle Rittenhouse case? Did you think he was going to be acquitted, or did you think he was going to go to prison, or should he?
I think he should, but I don't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. I think it could go either way.
And what is the story to your knowledge of what happened? Like what happened?
His mom drove him to a protest, and then he brought an AK into an extremely volatile situation, and then got into it with a couple of protesters and shot them.
That's amazing. Every detail that you told me is so wrong that it will horrify you if you look at it. No, his mom didn't drive him across. That's 100% not true. It was just spread by the media. Complete lie. Okay. AK-47, no. He didn't even have an AR-15. It's
whatever that gun was. I don't know guns, but it was like a big gun. I saw him walking with it. Do you
know the color of the people he shot?
Yeah, they were white.
Okay. Well, 80% of people thought he shot black people. Did you know that? It was also reported in legacy media that he killed black in the Independent in UK. Was acquitted of killing 2 black people. I knew he was going to be acquitted immediately, and I don't give a fuck about him or any of the politics or who the cause that makes you burn the building down. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. I'm not judging points. I watched the video. This is what I find. Rodney King, for example, when I was young, they played that footage every fucking day. When that came out, that was huge news that you would have it on video, what the shit that happened. And they played it a lot, as they should. And it inflamed some tensions. I don't know if you know, people got people worked up a bit, but good. Mm-hmm. It's what fucking happens. Why they should show Iraq fucking collateral damage. Show the shit. Because that's what the protectionist thing means. We don't see the truth a lot. So the media, all those details that you gave that are 100% wrong, not any of them were right. It was, if you easily could look up the footage. In fact, it's collected by this guy, Matt Orfala. He used to be a Bernie campaign guy, but now he does like good journalism. He compiled, we have footage of, never mind just the incident, everything leading up to it of all parties involved. Okay. And so right when the shit happened, I happened to watch the footage. And that's how I knew. It's like if you were Sherlock Holmes and they go, we got to decide what happened here in this. And then they just gave you a video of everything that happened and you were able to solve the case. It felt like that. And I was in an argument. I got an ex-girlfriend who's a blue dog Democrat ad person. Every bad quality of a fucking Democrat you could think of. And she goes, I go, look, it's not a political thing to me. I'm just saying, if you watch it, I happen to know how self-defense works. It's clearly that because he's running away. This person's clearly attacking him. It's just on camera. I'm not trying to just look at it. She goes, I don't need to see the footage. By the way, a lot of people said that. And a lot of news organizations reported it, but strangely didn't play the footage. Now that's very odd. You would think you could just play that. No, they didn't do it on fucking purpose. So then when you find out the actual real details of it, it's horrifying. And I'll tell you, because I have a joke about him, it makes me laugh. Like, do you think if he was black, he'd get away with killing 2 white people? And people go, no. I'm like, yeah, I was just telling my friend OJ that the other day on the course. I was like, Juice, what?
Well, OJ was a very unique situation, but
no,
like, look,
yes,
I don't.
No, hold on. It was because that was another instance of the system working properly. Everybody hated that case. This was the just decision. And this kid's not as guilty as OJ. He was fucking, you're allowed to have a gun. His gun was legal. The guy he shot had an illegal gun. He was from there. Did you know that? Crossing state lines is not a crime. The other people came from farther away to set things on fire. And I heard New York liberal dipshit friends of mine. By the way, I'm a liberal, I thought, until I hear the stupidity people say. Well, he shouldn't have been there. Yeah, he shouldn't have been there. He should have been out with his friends, setting fires like a good kid. Shut the fuck up. He got attacked. That's the law. You're allowed to have an AR-15 style weapon if it's legal. And if someone attacks you, you can fucking shoot them. He didn't point it at anyone. That's all a lie. Every part that you've heard is a fucking lie. And I'm not joking.
Right. Well, then, I mean, I might not know enough. I might have to look into it more, but I do think it's fucked up. I honestly think open carry laws like that are fucked up. Like, why is somebody,
well,
I'm very,
because sometimes you'll be in a town and the entire government absconds from its responsibility and defund the police, and then some people burn your fucking shit down. You've been allowed, this is a gun country. And if you don't, I don't understand what people are talking about. Like, we need less police. Well, you're going to have more guns because that's what happens. In fact, everybody I know, like, who did I just have on I was talking about? Was it Kareem? Because I was talking about that stupid slogan. Because the cops are, what everyone's done is made it so we're going to have a police state. So great work.
Well, their budgets are like super bloated a lot of the times.
They are because they exaggerate the harms, such as domestic terror that's going to get us, much like the other terror. Do you know that there's...
Well, I don't know that police are taking on domestic terror so much as they were like fist bumping the Proud Boys and shit. Like, I think that's more of the FBI.
The Proud Boys
and then it is.
What do you think the Proud Boys is? Because I know Gavin. You remember Gavin? He used to be in New York all the time doing podcasts. Dante Nero was the first president of it. I know they were.
And then he and then he went on a whole thing about how they turned out to be super racist and he had to like disassociate from them.
Yeah, and then their next president was got nothing to do with Gavin now. First of all, what they were was also stupid. It was not a white... What it was a Western... He told me, he goes, it's Western chauvinism. You've heard of this, of that Western culture. We could say that it's a better culture, which to me is dumb because all the shit that I hate and it's not left wing. That's Jimmy's left wing. I fucking love him. I don't mind left wing. I despise the bourgeois identity left wing shit that's very popular with people that are like want to get ahead, and it's real scummy, and it's obvious idiotic double standards, and it's enforced by misinformation. So Jimmy, for example, this is the kind of guy he is. He thought that kid was some fucking, some militia, something. And then he just looked at the footage. And you know what? A lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people don't want to see it because they don't want to know. They don't want to know it's like cheating to know what happened, because that's how on sides people are. And that ain't the Alex Jones crowd. In fact, a lot of them, you can talk to them. Now, here's why it's okay to have Alex Jones platformed. It's not that Joe Rogan had Alex Jones on and said, go on, Alex Jones, I agree with you. And everyone else out there does too. That's not what happened. He would challenge him and go, what the fuck are you talking about? A normal conversation that is not dangerous to have. When people tell you that's dangerous, they're a fucking liar or they're up to something. And I've been through it a million times. That's what Jehovah's Witnesses is. You have to watch what information. There was a book I wasn't supposed to read from an ex-member that they all know, but he's an apostate. You know what an apostate is?
No.
It's the worst thing you can be. It's a person that leaves a religion. And he wrote a book about all the fucked up shit that goes on. And I was told from a kid I knew it was a bad book. Then I read the book years. I go, oh, that's why. That's why they don't want you to read the book. Everybody does that. And the people that are worried about these nobodies, these are people with tax problems and drug addictions, much like the people you were describing.
I don't know. I think it's like, I don't think it's great to like because the problem becomes when you're like palling around and talking with these people and then they seem normal and then you start listening, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is a normal person. And then they start saying shit about the Parkland kids and shit like that. I just don't think it's like, unless you're really having them on.
I don't give a shit about first of all, he wasn't on Rogan talking about the Parkland kids. That was his own
not show. Parkland, whoever. Yeah. But I just don't think it's good to make these people seem normal. I'm not saying that you can't do that. Go ahead, do normal. What you want, but I don't think it's good. But it is
normal. But that's my point. It is, first of all, it's personally, fuck the Parkland kids. The shit that I've had directed at me by not Alex Jones News, but New York Times, fucking Young Turks, that fucking prick. The amount of lies that I have around have gone around about me from the entire media. Okay, I don't even know if you remember it. It was a while ago now. I don't give a fuck that he said something about Parkland. The real media are liars that don't give a fuck and will destroy anybody's life. Oh, it's not normal, is it? That's the norm. Ever since the media has been failing, Trump was correct. That's why they take venture capital. And that's why they do these stupid clickbait stories. Remember Gawker? That piece of shit? That Gawker was one of the worst things to ever happen in media. And thank God that a crazy fucking gay libertarian paid Hulk Hogan to sue the fuck out of them. They took... It's the commercialization. News was supposed to be a public fucking service to a degree, and they made it into Queenie gossip, like Real Housewives. And that's why we have words like cancel culture, little silly bourgeois twit words like you're in a Marie Antoinette times. You're canceled. That's what that is. And the grossest part is watching people who are above, like who think they're so fucking progressive and they can click in a minute to bigotry. Once they've been told who the bad people are, they don't need to see. They don't need to see the footage.
Yeah, that's well.
You know how Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I was gonna say, just in terms of like outrage culture and like things like that, like what happened to Justine Sacco on Twitter, where she
that was a Gawker. That was at the Sam.
Yeah, so Sacco I agree with you there. That is definitely an issue. Or even what happened to Doja Cat, who's like a musical artist that I really like, where they basically misrepresented what she was doing online, and she had to clear the record. But for a minute, it like could have ruined her life. Yeah. And even like, look, I mean,
how often do you think it happens?
A lot, often, but it's been happening forever. I mean, Britney Spears, how she was quote unquote treated by the media, or Meghan Markle, how the media treated her. It is definitely a huge problem. So it's like, again, like, I think this just comes down to like, stop centralizing media, get like better regulations on it and like shit like that. But
the regulation, what you just said is, the centralizing media, that's why there's a massive thing to smear and destroy people who don't go along with official narratives. I'm not a conspiracy guy. Like I don't know what, honestly, the conspiracies I hear people say as examples, I've never heard them. They sound pretty dumb. And I suspect they're like, because I've watched people get strawman. Personally, I've had it. The amount of crazy shit people have said about me where I'm like, a fucking Daily Beast. Sacha Baron Cohen hires pro-rape comedian to write for his show. I'm like, am I on The Simpsons? What is this? Luckily, it was so crazy that it didn't really take off. But that's some know-nothing, open mic piece of shit. And it's all freelance. All these disgusting media groups, they sharecropping. Everybody sharecrops. They freelance it out. And the way you make a name is you collect scalps. So that punk that got Shane fired from SNL and then tried to get Mike Che fired and he got called a sex pest and had to leave New York. That's how you make a name for yourself for these people. It's not journalism. It's the most vile, and it specifically didn't come out of the right. Sorry to tell you. That's the part that sucks. Now,
I think it's a problem regardless of what side of the political spectrum you are on.
That's right.
I think that's pretty pervasive.
That's why I don't mind right-wingers, which I am not, complaining about it. Hey, glad to have you on board. Glad you're here.
I mean, yes and no, because like they also use that to delegitimize like legitimate criticism of things that are happening.
I don't care. See, that's the cowardice right there. We're all in a campaign for the rest of our lives, and I got to plan my every action like a politician. If I move my jacket, how will it be interpreted? I got to plan because my enemies will be looking for a way to discredit my jacket. I'm supposed to live my life like that for fucking ever, according to Democrats. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to keep a promise. Hasn't kept one, by the way, except nothing will fundamentally change. But it has changed because the insanity that they have now, it's going to get worse. It'll change, don't worry. They do nothing, and then you're supposed to, like a fucking punk, it's your first time in Hollywood taking low pay at a job. Oh, they're going down. It's like you're supposed to just blindly accept it because God forbid that some Speaker of the House who fucking, I don't even know who he is. I have to worry. We can't hold these people's feet to the fire because Kevin McCarthy might be the Speaker of the House. Which, by the way, that was a lie if you ever heard that.
I just think.
Did you know
the system is super broken right now? And I think there's a difference between like I'm talking about right now, and specific shit is super screwed up. It's been screwed up for a long time, but I'm just saying that like, I think there is a unique and present danger with the current Republican Party. They're not like the typical Republican Party. I think they are fucking terrifying, especially with the shit they say and the things they do and the people they embrace. Like Marjorie Taylor, what she said about Ilhan Omar is super, or that was Lauren Boebert or whoever the fuck. And it's like, but the problem is like, these are the people they're embracing who are making the headlines and like are going to be the new leadership.
I agree.
So that's concerning to me.
I think you're right. I think Andre the Giant does pose a unique threat to Hulk Hogan, even worse than the Iron Sheik. And look,
I'm not. I don't.
And I cried.
I don't think that means don't hold the Democrats accountable, but I also don't think that means do nothing and then let these people who horrify me take power.
No.
So I think you can put up progressive. Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The DNC doesn't like her because she is very progressive and she wants to do shit. Like you can do things. Like you can grassroots organize and try.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
You can't with the two parties. No, you can't. Well, first of all, 20 years ago we lost the democracy.
But also, Kurt,
we lost 20 years ago.
I have to leave soon for a show. Just to give you a heads up, I probably need to go and like it's 6.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. We went a very long time, Sue.
It's okay.
Probably a very long time. Not recorded. There's a massive amount of unrecorded time added to it as well. I just want to tell you this because I just learned this. I never heard this before. So Roe v. Wade, which is in danger now. Mm-hmm. Good old Roe v. Wade is in danger again. And I thought it was like some kind of law. I didn't know it's just like a legal principle. It's not a thing that was ever codified into the law. And they could have done it anytime. In fact, Biden didn't know this until I saw the clip. His first day, he was going to make it a law so that it's protected forever, which they could do at any fucking time.
But not with the filibuster, which is like a whole fucking problem.
No, that's a lie that they tell. Do you know why they don't do it? This isn't like This is how politics works. Because what else do they have to run on? They're not doing well. I don't know if you notice. Both the Republicans and the Democrats, because they all love abortions. None of them are against abortions, obviously. Both of them, Republicans know anti-abortion people will still come out for that. And Democrats know pro-abortion people will always worry about that. And they use it, and they'll never put it in law. They'll dick around. The game is rigged way more than you could have even... All I'm saying is it's rigged. Your fears of what's happening, I want you to know they happened a long time ago. And if it's just now getting around to where you see it, it's way worse than that. Like, people are mad at China about sneakers. The slaves make them, right? Mm-hmm. Uyghur slaves make the sneakers and whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess, like, makes all this chocolate that we eat, especially the kind that says free trade on it, slaves. It's all 90% slave labor. Bipartisan, they try to do something about it. Every few years they get together and try to do something. And then the companies go, we're committed to doing, and then they do it even more and more mm-hmm. safely now. Everything's a fucking lie. Like, so that's why I'm saying I wouldn't, people that make you not trust the system, because that's what the danger you're talking about is it makes people stop believing. It makes people like not trust the government and not trust the thing that we need to trust.
Well, you shouldn't trust the government.
Well, except what? When they tell me to get a boot. I mean, I'm vaccinated, by the way, but when should I trust them? People get real quick. It becomes very, very weird. Like, how do you not trust the government? Why would I trust the intelligence community? How many times you heard that phrase? The intelligence community.
I don't know. Oh. A fair amount.
I was just wondering how many times you heard it. No. All right, I gotta go. I'm very high too, by the way. Also, cut out that I said I'm high, Mike, please. All right. If there's anything that you think of, but I don't think anything's recorded that you don't want on.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Where's your show
at? It's at a vintage store in LA. I don't know if it's Yes Baby Vintage or if that's just the name of the show, but who knows? Hopefully it'll be fun.
Outside? It's outside?
No. It's in a vintage store. Oh,
maybe.
I think it might be a part fundraiser. The last vintage store show I did, Jesus Christ, that's a sentence, was it partially a fundraiser, but I don't know if this one is.
Who else is on it?
They changed the lineup 17 times because everybody got COVID, so it's probably not a great sign that I should be doing this. A bunch of people I don't know, except for Paige Weldon, but I think she dropped out.
Wait, Paige from the Improv?
No. Oh. Weldon. That's a different Paige. That's Paige Schaefer, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's her name, the comedian Paige Weldon.
I don't know. Oh, is it Omicron or Delta? I hope I get Omicron and not Delta. If I had to pick one, I hope it's Omicron. I
have no I don't want either of these things. I don't know these people.
Omicron is the one that that's probably means we're at the tail end. All the people that got it came out of South Africa. A lot of people have it and don't even know they have it because it's like a cold.
Yeah, it's super mild. Yeah, if you're vaccinated, it's supposed to be like super mild.
Well, you're more likely to get this one. Delta, I'm less likely to get based on the kind I got, Pfizer, according to what the last thing I saw. And then, but it's only at 30%, 33% effective against Omicron. But Omicron is the least severe symptoms. So I'm I like everyone's going to get it, by the way. There's no such thing as not getting it.
Yeah, no, it's here now. It's like the flu. It's not going any fucking where.
Yeah, it's the herpes of, I guess, culture. All right, have a good show. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Because I can't get right.